Hi, my name is Cliff Wheeler. I'm a volunteer gallery docent at the National Museum of the United States Army. Since I was a very little boy, I have always really been into history. So that's kind of my first love. In fact, when I went to college, I majored in history. As an adult, I discovered my second love, which is the United States Army, and I gave 28 years of service to it. So in the museum, I kind of get to bring together the two loves of my life, or at least the first two loves of my life in history and the Army, and I can share it with everyone else, and that really means a lot to me. That's really a tough question, but I would say I always go back to the Model 1870 Springfield carbine. And it's not very prominently displayed, but it has a lot of personal meaning. So I served in the 7th Cavalry, so I've always been really into their unit history. Especially, I've done a lot of reading and research on the Battle of the Little Bighorn. And this particular Model 1870 Springfield is provenance to the battle at the Little Bighorn. What I find most interesting about it is, although that was the standard weapon that was assigned to the 7th Cavalrymen who fought there, this particular weapon was not used by the 7th Cavalry. Because of shell casings that they found on the battlefield, we know that this weapon was actually used by the Sioux and Cheyenne warriors who fought and defeated the 7th Cavalrymen. So I just think that it adds a really interesting twist, and it's something I enjoy sharing with museum visitors. I think it's getting to meet people from all over the country, and in fact, all over the world, and try to share with them my passion for not only the United States Army, but my passion for history as well. And just getting an opportunity to, whether they're novices or know a whole lot about the Army, it's interesting just to be able to gauge people's interest and share with them, different aspects of the museum and everything else. So I get a lot of personal fulfillment out of that. Probably the most memorable moment, it just happened a couple of weeks ago. So it was my first time in the Global War Gallery, so I was a little bit nervous. I don't know all the artifacts as well as I do in some of the others. And a lady came up to me and said, I have this list of items that were decorations my father earned in World War II, and I just would like to know what they look like. And fortunately, we have a display in there that shows some of the campaign medals and such that were available to World War II soldiers. And having just looked at that panel, I knew where to take her. And I took the lady over there and I showed her, okay, here are the World War II medals that are on your list, and this is what they look like, and here's when they would have been given or to whom they would have been given. And so it was very satisfying for her and a very emotional moment for her. But to me, being able to help connect her to her father's service in the Army, that was just really satisfying for me. Well, as a kid, my friends and I were constantly playing in the woods, and I lived in a pretty rural area, and we had, at least an acre of woods between each and every house, and we were constantly out in the woods playing war, we would call it. So a lot of my friends in high school were not surprised when I kind of gravitated to the Army. I personally never really thought I would join the Army. But I joined ROTC as a freshman in college, mostly just to kind of get outside and have something to do. What I discovered as I continued along that path is I was pretty good at it. So I came into the Army just to do 4 years of active duty, get out of school for a while, and then I wanted to go to grad school. 26 years later, I retired from the Army, as a colonel. And I think probably the thing that is most memorable to me is my command tour. I led a cavalry squadron in Iraq, and we were the only Army unit attached to the Marines. And so I spent a year in Anbar Province working for the United States Marines. And those are probably, that entire 15 months is probably the most memorable time for me in the Army, because, I was the guy in charge. And so there were a lot of really, really great things that we were able to do, and there were a lot of great days, and there were a few bad ones, but that's probably my most memorable time in the Army. We the Army, waited an awful long time to put this museum together. And I've been to Army museums all over the country, and in fact around the world. So we already had a lot of different places that you could go, but they're all pretty much location specific or unit specific. This museum basically allows us to share the absolute best that we have. And it covers the whole Army. And it covers not just, one time period, not just one particular unit. It goes from 1607 all the way up to the modern day. And I think it's that, the fact that it's so holistic, I think that really makes it worth the wait. It's something that everybody or anybody who's ever served in the Army can relate to and can and should be proud of.